We're going to get Dan Martell on the video here in just a second. And we're going to do a brief intro to Dan. Dan, I'm wearing these sunglasses for you because you have so much energy, right? I had to find something fun. I can't play dance music right now because I have to ask you questions. But throughout the day, we've been playing a little dance music, having a little bit of fun. And I really appreciate you coming on. We're going to go right into it. I just have a brief intro on Dan, by the way. And Dan knows me pretty well. He's been an advisor for Jetpack Workflow. But look, just a couple things about Dan. And I grabbed this right from your website. So he has successfully exited 3 companies. Right? I think that's incredibly important. He is a former advisor and investor in billion-dollar SaaS companies like Intercom, like Hootsuite, like Udemy, right? And so, Ron was presenting on how the future of the profession could be in, subscription economics. Well, that is Dan to a T, and we're talking about subscription companies right here. He's also an active investor in 40 plus startup companies. He's won numerous awards for his work in investing. He was named top angel investor in Canada in 2012, and so much more. I like that you said you were invited to speak at MBA classes at both Berkeley and Stanford, even though I didn't go to college myself. So that's
no university degree, nothing.
But you're an incredible learner. That's what, you mentioned so many things about, investing in yourself and educating yourself. One of the first, and this is going to be a really broad question. We're going to spring it off from here. But look, the entire industry has been thrown an entire curveball. And I know you work with gyms, for example, that all of a sudden people aren't going to gyms anymore. So what have you seen? What are some of the mindset shifts, for a firm owner that's listening? They've never gone through turbulence like this. How should they start approaching their business in a way that maybe they hadn't thought about in the past at the mindset level?
Yeah, I mean, so I think with anything, you need to orient yourself, right? And first off, I want to give a shout out to all the entrepreneurs, all the firm owners in the group watching this. I think too often we forget that the world doesn't move forward unless entrepreneurs wake up every day to make the world a better place. And it's not hyperbole, it's real. It's like the experiences, the tools in our kitchen, the houses we live in, the software that we use. Somebody woke up to make the world a better place. The clients that you guys serve with your bookkeeping services, and I just have so much respect for the entrepreneurs out there. So I just want to thank everybody who's an entrepreneur, who's created something in the world, who's decided to go against all the odds and create your own future. I think it's just an incredible place to be. In regards to how do we deal with this? I race cars, right? I race a McLaren. It's a really cool car. It's meant to go fast. And the thing that my instructor taught me in taking turns is you have to essentially dump your speed before you get into the turn, right? So when the economy took a dive, everybody hit the brakes, okay? And it's the appropriate thing to do. We need to get rid of any extra costs. We need to firm up our business. We need to cut the fat, right? That was the braking. Second part to the turn, there's 3 parts, is to look at the apex, right? So the problem in racing is that it's so high speed that it's way outside of what you would normally do in a normal car scenario, that you have this tendency to want to look at the potential danger, which could be the concrete wall. And all professional drivers do not look at the concrete wall. They look at the apex. Where do they need to bring the car next, which is usually some place along the turn. And then once you hit the apex, you power on out of the turn and go for your exit, right? And the reason I share that is because it is such a perfect analogy of where we're at in the economy, where we've already braked. The challenge that a lot of us have is we're a turn that we didn't see. We couldn't see the turn, so we didn't even know where the apex was. So literally on a daily basis, we're resetting on where we think it is. And then what I've been coaching my clients, because I coach 170 of the top B2B SaaS founders in the world, is let's get ready to power on. Okay. And that's where I think we're at the beginning. I can personally see the apex, and trust me, when I get there, gas to the floor, all my companies I'm involved in, because this is the chance that all the accounting firms have to capture market share. Because the the accounting industry traditionally, and I'm friends with a lot of incredible accountants. They're, you know, they do the work for my businesses and they're friends of mine. And I've invested in home building company. I was a part equity owner in one of the largest home building companies in my part of Canada, and a partner in a gym. So like, as you mentioned, David, like I know the local market services space really well. And we're going to take advantage of the market share opportunity. So mindset, 3 things we need to do. 1, we need to pivot. We need to pivot some aspect of the business. You know, from my friend Luke, who owns a restaurant, he decided to pivot to a done for you 5-course meal delivered to your house. He can't even keep up to demand. He's selling out all the time, right? Another friend of mine, he's a photographer. Crazy industry. What do you do if you can't do events? No social gathering. He offers Zoom, like this event, Zoom photography for digital events. So he'll stay at his house. He's got this whole like studio set up, and he puts his laptop and he takes photos of the speakers like me right now. And then I would get this like professional photo, right? And here's what's funny I discovered is in these pivots, and I think, David, you alluded to this, the future is being exposed to us. Like it's being exposed. The pivot is not a pivot for the short term. The pivot could be the new model, right? And so we got to pivot. We have to protect the business. This is where we have to get our economics right, our measurement, our team figured out. And then we've got to profit from it. We have to look at how do we generate revenues. And it's not about building repeatable, scalable right now. It's literally just about monetizing whatever we can, selling assets, renegotiating. Like it's figuring out how do we generate profits in these times. And that's the mindset. I think it's the, you know, at a high level, the way I think about it is we get to decide if we're going to participate in the downturn or not. It's 100% our decision. I know some people are like, yeah, but my business is shut down. Don't care. You get to decide. Are you going to participate in the downturn? I'm not. I haven't. No way, Jose. I decided when this whole thing started, I'm going to come out in better shape, better economics, better relationship with my wife, incredible father to my kids, because I have an opportunity to spend a lot of time with them. And those were just decisions that I made. And we can go all over the place, as you know, David, so I'll let you guide the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, so much to unpack there. I think, and Dan, what I love about you and kind of your approach to it is you think of more than just business. Like the fact that you even mentioned, I want to be a better husband. I'm going to come out a stronger husband. I'm going to come out, you know, a stronger a father, you know, to my kids. There is a lot of the normal is panic, defense, and I think there's a time and place for defense, and you know, we can talk a little bit about that. But I mean, how do you channel this level of, I guess, inner psychology, right? Because I think there's so much. You go into a normal community, you talk with friends and family, you open up whatever, and it's insanity. So how do you set yourself up to actually think in this manner? I think that's probably the biggest blocker that restaurant owner you talked about, right? If they were heads down, worried, stressed out, he's not coming up with that idea. So how do you open up the gates to kind of think in this way?
There's a lot, but I mean, number one is what are you focused on? When I said don't focus on the cement wall, focus on the turn, focus on the opportunity, okay? I know for a fact 80-90% of the people watching right now listen to the news. Here's what I've discovered. I have never watched the news, stopped watching the news, turned to my wife and said, I feel better about our country now that I've watched that news. Never has happened. So like, if you know that all you're going to consume there is negativity, why do you do it to yourself? You will, like, I understand being educated and have perspective and worldly view. I can decide how to consume that information. I can decide to not consume the news and talk to my friend Marty, who reads every newspaper and watches every article. And every time I see him once a week, I can say, hey, Marty, what's new in the world that I should know about? And he'll tell me. And he'll tell me through his lens that is not so negative and friggin' fear-mongering as the news. So that would be number one. Let's get our psychology straight. Number two, I would say you got to move your body. And it sounds so trite, but I'm telling you, if you find yourself spiraling down, if you find yourself having these negative thoughts about the economy or my business, or, you know, what if my customers call me next month and 50% cancel? Like, you need to go outside and walk. You need to move your body. You got to get your sweat on. To me, it's a daily activity. And I don't do it for the physical appearance aspect of it. I do it for my mental health, right? And then I would say the third thing is you got to get around other people that share that same belief and passion for life, right? We are a byproduct of our environment 100% through and through. You will always lower your drive to the average of the people that you spend your time with. And if you want to level up, you need to be around people that are higher. And if you don't have that current community, you can curate it. And that's the beauty of the world with software like Zoom, is that you can literally say, so when the whole thing started to happen, I literally decided, who are the 5 buddies? Who are my 5 people that I know are going to come out of this and just take advantage of it? Like, and not like, look, we can, like, the death and the medical impact is real, but there's an economic opportunity that none of us will ever see probably for the rest of our lifetime right now. And if you don't get around people that are thinking that way, that can share their perspective and share their insights and talk about capital and how do we buy other firms and how do we position ourselves to spin out of this turn, right? It's going to be impossible. So that, like, personally, those are the things that I go to. I go to, what am I feeding my mind? How do I cut out any negative consumption? And how do I get around people that are going to inspire me, motivate me, and hold me accountable to really live a bigger life?
Yeah, I love it. And look, if people are on today's webinar, you got to think about this. Like 20 days ago, we had this idea to do this summit, right? 600 people signed up. We've been hovering around 400, 500 people, just trying to absorb best practices, right? So if you're listening right now, you don't have a community, this is your community, right? And if you want to see us carry this forward in a deeper way, email me, david@jetpackworkflow.com. I usually don't put out my email, but, let me know.
I can't believe you just did that.
Yeah, who knows? It's the end of the day. I've only had 1 cup of coffee. I don't know. But look, I think community is so important, because when you hear these examples, because that's what I think it takes. It's like when you hear about the 4-minute mile, everybody can run the 4-minute mile. When you hear about the photographer that pivots to, take pictures on Zoom, or the restaurant owner that does the 5-course meal, it's amazing and it's inspiring, and it starts to make you think what I can do differently about my business, right?
Totally. I had a friend of mine reach out to a chiropractor. We've been training for an Ironman, and he gets on the call with the chiropractor through Zoom, and the person the whole time was apologizing for, hey, sorry, we have to do this on Zoom. Sorry for the technology issues. And my friend's laughing inside, because he's like, this is a better experience for a busy entrepreneur like I am. I can't believe he's apologizing, because it's probably going to be his new normal. And he hasn't even decided to adjust to the opportunity that if more people knew that he was willing to do essentially self-addressed adjustments through Zoom, that he'd have a lineup throughout the door of people that probably want to take him up on that. I just think it's perspective. Opportunity sometimes is disguised in hard work. And I shared this on my Facebook actually today, David, where last Sunday, I get people follow, I'm blessed to have a large audience on social media. And this guy is always being like, Dan, let me know if I can ever do anything to help you. I'm really inspired by your content. I would love to just help. And I called him out. I called him on a Sunday, and I said, hey, his name is Benoit. I said, Benoit, are you free? He goes, why? I said, well, I need some yard work done. It's kind of springtime, and my wife was asking me, and I figured I'd give you a call. He goes, oh, today's not good. I said, oh, why? What do you got going on? He goes, I got to walk my dog, and I got to spend time with my fiance today. I couldn't understand that response. Like, this is a guy for months that was asking me, wanting to spend time with me, wanting to be around me, wanting to be like coached by me. And I call him to pay him to do the work that he does. And he says that Sundays are his days off, essentially. I was like, if it, like me, I'm like on a plane at 3 a.m. and I'm there before the person has their second cup of coffee saying, what can I do to serve? Like, I just think sometimes people don't understand that these opportunities that look so dire, that they are literally the thing you like. What if right now what you're going through is to prepare you to be ready to get the thing that you've been asking for? Think about that. What if what you're going through right now is to prepare you to be the person who can actually get the thing you've been asking for in your life, and the results you want or the success you want? Like, this could be that groundwork. And instead of leaning into it, we're deciding to, start drinking at 2 p.m. I mean, the amount of stuff that I've seen, like to me, what I look at is consistency. When I coach entrepreneurs, I'm not impressed if you can sprint for 5 days and then you take 6 days off. Like, you know what I mean? You see this all the time, David, entrepreneur world. It's like, they do all this work and then they do nothing for 4 or 5 months. I'm interested. My Ironman coach said this to me. He said, it's not the fastest person, it's the person who slows down the least. And I was like, oh,
I love that.
Makes sense. Who shows up every day consistently? Who reads 10 pages of a book? Who doesn't watch the news every day in the row? Who decides to eat a little cleaner today? Who decides to move their body every day? Every day. I need a rest day. You're not working out that hard. Like, people that say that to me on social media, Dan, it's every day you need a rest day. I say, you keep feeding yourself that information. I'm not buying. Ain't buying. Not going to internalize it. Doesn't make sense in my brain. Trust me, I work with professionals. You can work out every day if you decide to recover and eat properly. So I just think it's interesting the perspective people have.
Yeah, you know what? On that note, because I know you talked about the physical end of things, but it has so much tied in with the mentality of it as well. We only have a couple minutes left, but I know that you operate at a level of extreme work-life balance that I take a look at it, and I've been fortunate. I've obviously been to your home and even got to meet, I think, most of your family, right?
Everybody.
I saw your kids run.
Was there 30 people in my living room that night?
Yeah, exactly.
That was a big dinner.
How do you set up your day that you are able to stay focused on the task at hand, at serving or thinking creatively about new opportunities, but then unplugging so you can be present with your family, with your kids?
Yeah, so
it's a big topic. I know we have a couple minutes left.
No, this is the tactic. It's literally, I have a wind down list. I have a to-do list. It's a Google Doc. Okay. At the end of the day, anything that didn't get done, I go write it there. I scan my inbox and I put it in there and I link to the emails and I look at my calendar. Because the reason why people can't sleep well at night and they're always tossing and turning, they can't disconnect, is because they haven't processed and put it somewhere. Okay. If you want a good book, read Getting Things Done by David Allen. He really talks about that. The mind was designed for problem solving. It wasn't designed for retention. So I literally have techniques like the end of my day to-do list, which I'm going to do right after this because it's beautiful outside and my kids are waiting for me. And I'm going to dump everything that I'm not going to get to tonight because I'm not. And tomorrow morning, when I start my day at 5 a.m., because I'm not pushing snooze on my life, I'm going to ramp back up and get some work done, right? And that's one example of how I set it and I forget it, so that when I'm in between the context switching, I can be 100% focused. And if anything comes up, I believe you should buy back your time, right? So, and I taught you this and many others, that if you don't have an assistant, essentially you are the assistant. And that's not a derogatory thing. That is just reality. If you're doing, no $1 million business was ever built on $10 tasks, right? So what I do is I use a tool called Boxer, and anytime something comes to me, I'll just Boxer it over to my assistant. She adds it to the list. We meet every day for 20 minutes. She brings it up. I give her some direction. She goes and does it. And I really believe in this concept of buying back your time, not hiring for capacity. It's a big idea, but the idea is I never hire a person unless I can clearly look at my calendar and say they're going to give me back 2 days out of my week or 10% on my week. Because as an entrepreneur, you won't grow into pain. And if growing means more people to manage and more responsibility, and you haven't bought any time back from your calendar just because you added capacity, you actually won't do it and you'll self-sabotage yourself.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, so much insight. I love, you said you'll never grow a 7-figure business, 7-figure firm doing $10 an hour tasks, right? And I think there's, yeah, and I think there's so much to unpack there, because you can look at your calendar and say, how am I spending my time and am I doing the right things? So much. And I know you come from the world of software as a service and technology, but I think you just, the first program I invested in with you was called Elite Entrepreneurs. It was just great business foundation, to be honest with you. I mean, almost nothing to do with software companies. So the content you put out there is just so foundational, I think, for a lot of firm owners. So if somebody wants to follow, I know you put out like a weekly YouTube video, you put out a podcast, you put out a lot of stuff. What would be the best way for our audience to kind of connect with you and maybe follow some of your mindset, your thoughts, your content?
Yeah. If you want to learn more of my how-to stuff, go to my YouTube channel. If you want to be inspired, follow me on Instagram. If you want motivation, I do almost daily videos there. My Instagram stories is the behind the scenes of my life. And then if you want really cool business stuff, find me on LinkedIn. But I really use each one specifically for those audiences. And, you know, my purpose in life is really just to teach everything I know. Literally, it's just, you know, when you asked me to do this, David, I was more than excited. So if I can do anything to support you, just let me know. And again, I really believe that we're in one of the most incredible opportunities right now in the world history that we'll probably ever experience to take advantage if we choose to. And especially for accountants, you guys are poised to take advantage of this opportunity. So let's go.
100%. I am so excited. Thank you, Dan, for coming on. And look, so many takeaways. And just to get a little meta with it, I think one of the takeaways that, you know, kind of end on this one, we'll open it up to kind of final reminders, is the way you talk about, you know, I do how-to on YouTube, I do business on LinkedIn, I do behind the scenes on Instagram. You are methodical about everything. You have designed, you know, at every kind of level, I feel like in your business, in your life, like, what do I want? What does my audience need? And how can I structure it to deliver that? And so that was, I don't know if anybody kind of caught that, but you can kind of see how Dan's brain works. Is like, here's a channel. What am I going to use it for? How do I, you know, set up a system, automate and scale it? We haven't even got into how you shoot all of your videos, you know, 52 videos in 2 days, right? But this is how you think, which is really cool. So Dan, appreciate you coming on. We're going to link
Thanks,
it up.
David.
And,
Real honor, man.
yeah, of
All the
course.
best, everybody.